Happy Monday. Thank you to Thea for having me here today in the group. And I want to welcome you all to the 3 critical elements of sales pages. So I know sales pages can be like such a thing, and they can really, kind of freak people out. And especially if you're writing your own, because then that brings up all kinds of crazy head games. So we're going to cover 3 critical elements in today's live about what you need to include in your sales page. This isn't everything, but these are 3 critical elements. And before we dive in any further, my name is Jen Phillips April. I am a copywriter. I do write sales pages for clients, and I work with clients in editing their sales pages as well. And let's get started, right? I'm also going to drop a link in after we're done, and there's a worksheet in there that can help you work through some of these questions. So, as I said, we're going to talk about 3 critical elements. So, you have to start here. Hi there, how are you? You have to start here in order to start writing anything. This is like a number 1 question that any copywriter would ask you if you were to start working with someone. And so therefore, ask it of yourself and start that process. What is the problem that your prospect wants solved? That's so important, I'm going to say it again. What is the problem that your prospect wants solved? And it could be anything. I mean, so let's say you're a health coach and you think your prospect wants to lose weight, or you help your prospect lose weight. Like, that's one of your key benefits of working with you. However, their real motivation, I'm going to get to this more in a moment, is actually something else. Maybe their real motivation is their health. Maybe they've been to the doctor, they've had a health scare, and they're really worried about, being pre-diabetic, for example, and they realize they really got to do something about this. They got to shake things up. They got to change that diet. They got to get outside and start walking, whatever it is. There's a different motivation there, and when you know that, then you can write really strong, much stronger copy. So here are a couple of tips to help you in thinking that, because you always want to be using the language of your audience. You want to be thinking, what are the words they use, what gets them really excited, what motivates them. And one tip you can do is obviously look in Facebook groups and see what kinds of questions people are asking, and that will help because you can get some insight from other people. You can see what some of the complaints are, so that way you can help to use the language or overcome those objections. Because when you're writing sales copy, it's all about overcoming objections. You're thinking of, it's all psychology, because you want to think about what is it that my ideal client is thinking. What is going to be her chief objection to this thing? And maybe she doesn't think it's going to work for her. Maybe she thinks she's tried everything and she's lost hope. So you want to know what are her objections so you can start overcoming them in your sales copy. So another tip for you, finding out what some of those are, some of those objections, some of those concerns, is go to Amazon. You go to Amazon, you can type in, say, a book for, a best-selling book. That'll take you 2 seconds to find something, right? And you can look at the tables of contents. You can see how they frame everything. What are the questions that they're addressing? Because top-selling books usually have some good research into them. So they've already put all this work into a framework. So if you look at the table of contents, you can see what are the different chapter headings, how are they breaking it down. You can probably scroll through the book and see some of the different, how they're labeling the different headlines even within the chapters, like how are they breaking out the chapter into subtopics. All of that could be really great fodder for writing your copy. And then also go look at the reviews. Boy, you can learn a lot from reviews. So if you are on Amazon and you go and you look at the reviews, and you're going to start seeing, people like this about it, they hated that about it, how many positive reviews does it have, how many negative reviews does it have, what do the negative reviews say? And in all of this, you're looking for patterns, because you want to see, like, what are the most frequently asked questions, because then you're going to address that in your copy. So what are the most frequently asked questions? What are the chief objections that people have about your product or service like yours, right? Because they probably don't know about yours yet. So I like to keep a Google Doc and just, cut and paste that stuff and drop it in there because you're going to come back later and you can even print it out and you can take like colored markers. Oh, I have some here. Look at that, handy, huh? I have some colored markers. You can take these and like highlight all the things that are in the same vein and use a different color for something different. A different topic, so that you're making sure you're addressing different aspects of it. So if you're here live, you can drop a comment in. If you have, you can just say hi. You can drop in, question if you have a question. So that was, the color marker is really, it's very handy because I can tell you one time I was actually writing ebooks. It wasn't a sales page, but the concept is the same. And I had this huge list of frequently asked questions, and I'd say huge, it was like 300. They had done this whole thing, and anyway, had all these questions. So I printed the whole thing out, and I'm highlighting all the ones that fell into the same so I could create different subtopics, subheadings, because it was for an email marketing program. So people had questions about the technology. They had questions about growing their list, which were separate from the technology. So they had categorized. You're looking to categorize these things. So that's going to help you later when you write your sales page. So that was in your number one problem. Does your prospect want solved? And I didn't write notes for myself here, so I'm cheating a little bit. But what problem does your prospect want solved? So that's the first question to ask yourself, because without that, it's going to be tough to write anything that's going to be really useful. The next question to ask yourself is, how does your product or service solve this problem? Right? Like, how does what you offer solve their problem? So again, if you're a health coach, maybe you're helping people lose weight, or maybe you're really helping people become healthier and curb the possibility of like serious disease, right? Maybe that's your angle, and you already know that that's what your prospect is after. So that's what you really focus on in your coaching programs and your copy is, I help you become healthier so that you're gonna have more energy and your clothes are gonna fit better, and you're not at risk of developing serious chronic diseases like diabetes or something like that. So if you already know that about your prospect and you're already addressing those things, then you want to show how you do that. All right. So in your sales page, maybe you have some special service, some special way of taking people through it. So if you start reading sales pages with a kind of a critical eye, you'll see that a lot of people have their own special something. They've created a name for something that is their process. So maybe it's a 5-step process or 7-step process or whatever step process, but it has a certain name to it. Or maybe they don't even call it a process. Maybe it's just like the process for this thing, which means it may not be different from what other people are doing. They just have their own name to it, so it sounds cooler. It sounds more trademark friendly. It could be a trademark term. Excuse me. So that's something to consider. So having your product or service solve the problem. So you first have to know what the problem is, the biggest problem, and then show through pictures, how you solve it, right? Like how your product or service solves that. And these are going to be different for everybody. Even if you're in the same industry, you can be, let's look at business coaches, for example. We all know there's lots and lots of business coaches out there, but they each approach it differently. And some, are really coming from, say, a systems and background, like a accounting background, so they're really focusing on profit and the numbers, for example, the financial piece of it. Others are really focusing on energy or your spirituality. Others may focus on something, just technology, like let's get all the systems in place so that you can have your automation working. So those are 3 different ways you can approach a similar project, if you will, similar program. They're each going to be different. The client's going to be different because the client is going to have different needs and they're going to resonate in a different way. The client may end up working with all 3 of those people at some point, and they may all serve a great purpose and really help that person. However, at the time, they're probably only going to work with one at a time. So you want to show how your product or services solves that problem. So, excuse me a moment. Yeah. I have I wrote a little note here to myself, says, you know, when you have a clear idea of who your ideal target is, or who your ideal client is, this really gets super clear. And I have a client clarity worksheet with an email sequence in another offer, and I mean, it's all about getting clear, getting super clear on who you're talking to, because that is the first step in writing any piece of copy. And then our number 3 is, what's the easiest way that your prospect can try your product or service? What's the easiest way they can try it? So we're all familiar with the free trials for software programs. A lot of membership sites may offer $1 free trial for your first week or month or whatever. So those are like easy ways to help you ease into doing business with you. We all are familiar with the free content, right? We all do tons of free content in order to introduce ourselves to people. The free content offers an opportunity for people to get to know who you are, to get a little bit interested in what you do, to see if maybe they want to know more, and so then they follow you, they sign up for your email list, they join your group, whatever, and then, but over time, they get to know you a little bit better, right? Like that's how this thing works. So then the next step is maybe signing up for a low dollar product or service, or low dollar product that you're selling, and then it's like a stair ladder. It's like a ladder going up. So people are coming along at each different point, and then they're advancing. You may have seen this known as the buyer's journey or the customer journey. I mean, that's the whole process. It's like people come into your system, and then you guide them down the hall, you give them a tour of the house, the whole thing. And it's like, oh, and now would you like to buy the house? Okay, sure, I'll buy the house. So it's bringing people along, answering questions as you go through. So what's the easiest way your prospect can try this? A lot of coaches do the discovery call, right? So maybe you have the 20-30 minute discovery call to see if you're going to be a good fit. That's a very common process to let people know, have a taste of what it's like to work with you, and vice versa, because in that kind of work, you might not, you just might not be a good fit, or maybe they're not ready for you or whatever. So it's a good idea to have that call to assess where you are. Yes, I thank you for the likes. If you all want to give more likes, comments, I'm always happy to answer questions. And I don't know that I'm seeing all of the comments, so I don't want to miss anything. All right, so that was your 3 critical elements there. So there's a recap, just a quick recap. Number 1 is, what problem does your prospect want solved? And that's huge. Like, what's the big problem they want solved? Because if they don't know they have a problem and they don't care about solving it, then you're never going to sell them. So move on, next. We're looking for somebody else, right? So what problem does your prospect want solved? And we're going to have to go along with the assumption that they know they have a problem, and that yes, they think they might want to solve it. That's going to keep them reading throughout the sales letter. They're going to go, oh, this person really is understanding me. Oh yes, I see what she's saying here. This is really useful. And then there are lots of other pieces of a sales page that I'm not covering today, but one of those would be like credibility boosters, testimonials in particular. You want to have your testimonials because that shows that you have worked with other people, and if they can see themselves in those other people, that's always going to be good. That's going to help you sell more. So number 1 is, what's the problem that your prospect wants solved? And number 2 is, how do you solve that? So showing those results, throughout your materials is always awesome. Oh yeah, this is a great question. I'm so glad you've asked this question. What do you suggest for entrepreneurs who are trying to solve 10 different problems with their sales pages? I say, scrap it and start over. Seriously, you cannot sell 10 different things in one sales page. You need 10 different sales letters. Or you have to pick one that's going to be the big solution. We call it the big promise in copywriting. So the big solution, your big promise. That big promise, you could be addressing these other issues within the copy. But you're not going to try to make all 10 of them be your primary thing, because that's just going to turn off everybody. You have to pick one and really stick with it. So those other ones could be supporting issues, but you need to have one big promise. So earlier I was talking about like the health coach and the weight loss thing. But if weight loss is not your prospect's primary motive, then that's not your big promise. You're not going to make that your big promise. That can be like, oh, and by the way, you may lose weight. I mean, most people are happy to lose a little weight. So that can be secondary. It may not be something you talk about really at all. It's just like, oh, and by the way, this is an added bonus. But you don't want to be trying to solve 10 different problems with your sales page. That's just not good. That's not good focus. You need to be specific. I did a video several months ago, and it was all about like how good marketing is like moving houses. We just moved houses, moved to a new house. So it's all about like how many bedrooms do you want? How many, how big does it need to be? Does it need to be, do you need a big yard? How many bathrooms do you need? All these kinds of things. You need to be specific. So just like you're specific when you look for a place to live, you want to be specific in your sales pages. Yeah, it does happen all the time. Not just with coaches. It happens all the time with lots of different people. Products too. I worked with someone earlier in the year, and they came out the gate saying they want to target their product to somebody who had a particular health issue. And then I was like, okay, great, because there were a lot of people with that particular health issue in the world. And then they're like, oh, no, we don't want to be that specific. And it's like, there's an association for this group. You already told me you wanted to work with this. This was it, But then they want to water it down. It just gets too watered down, and it gets confusing. And instead of selling to everyone, you end up selling to no one. It's usually what happens in those kinds of instances. So you want to be... Yeah, you really want to tailor the copy to your ideal client, tailor it to your ideal specific product or service. I mean, there's a reason why we all have different offers. We have multiple offers. It's because we're reaching out to people who have different needs or different perceived needs. It could all be, they may need the same thing, but they just see it differently, right? So, yeah, don't try to target 10 different things in your sales page. It's not a recipe for a happy bank account. It just isn't. You want to pick one big motivating thing which taps into that ideal client major problem, I want this solved today issue. You want to show how your service delivers that. Benefits, lots of benefits. And then you want to make it easy for people to buy it. So if you can have a guarantee, or if they buy it in 30 days or whatever, money back guarantee, or the discovery call to see if it really is the right fit, you need to have some kind of way for them to do some kind of business with you, make some transaction, even if that's just a phone call. So you want to have, you're helping people along the way. Don't try to sell 10 things on one sales page. It just isn't. It's not a good tactic. Now you can break each of those pieces out if they're all part of the same package, and it really is going to be all there. You could break them out into your email series afterwards, your follow-up series. Like, let's say you do a webinar, right? And you're offering your selling a coaching package. You're doing a webinar. You invite people to the webinar. After the webinar, you invite them to let's say you invite them to sign up for a discovery call. But after the webinar, you also send a series of emails to the people who have not signed up, and but you could highlight a different benefit in each of those emails, if that made sense. But don't try to sell 10 things in one sales letter. It has never worked in the history of humankind, because everyone sees themselves and their product, everyone sees themselves and their concern as very, very specialized and very personal. So you want your sales letter to address that person and that person's interests. And then you can have another sales letter addressing a different one, but you don't want to be trying to do it all at one time. So, do we have other questions? Those are 3 of the critical elements that everyone needs in their sales pages. And I hope I'm not as fuzzy coming through on you as I am on my camera. Not sure why I'm fuzzy today. Anyway, do we have any other, yeah, everyone sees their problem as special because everyone's an individual, right? We're all individuals, and it's really hard to imagine ourselves, because copywriting is psychology. It's all psychology. It's all it is. It's all psychology. It's much less writing than it is psychology. And you know, you really have to get into people's heads. You have to know what they're concerned about. And everyone is special. Everyone's unique. And everyone seems to think, lots of people think that, oh, well, no one else can have my problem. Not at all. It's like offering, you know, a Facebook Live program for, you know, service professionals, or no, let's say like accountants versus realtors. Well, the information is the same, 95% of it, but if you're going to have a much easier time selling it if you divide it into each of those categories. It sounds counterintuitive, or maybe it sounds obvious when you think of it, I don't know, but it's everyone wants the information tailored to them. That's it. Everyone wants the information tailored to them. So I hope that makes sense. I'm on my, you know, I'm on my computer. I'm on my phone up here, and then I'm on my computer down here. And I'm going to come over here and jump into Facebook so I can drop this opt-in form in if you want to download this worksheet that I did for you. Do we have any other questions? I'll come back later and have a look and see if there are questions I can answer. If not, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me, Thea. I appreciate it. And I will just pop this into the comments so that people can see it. Okay? Thank you.